Hey, what's up, everybody?
Hey guys, welcome back.
Joe here.
Kevin.
So we have another episode of Mad Men here for you.
Yeah.
As always, the show is so exciting. It's so intriguing. It's just a perfect show.
Uh
It's
yeah.
so entertaining.
The Kentucky Derby episode had so many interesting and fantastic moments in it. Roger doing blackface, kind of highlighting and everyone laughing along but Don, kind of highlighting the privilege everyone has here to be completely clueless about it.
Yeah,
I mean, I get that it wasn't as big an issue in the '60s as it is now. We're much more socially conscious about what was wrong with that.
of course.
Um, but there was definitely a little bit of. I mean, let's face it. It was at of all things, a Kentucky Derby party. I mean, does anything scream rich white people more than
Kentucky Derby Party.
a Kentucky Derby party at a country club?
Don't get me wrong. The mint juleps look nice.
Yeah, no, it looked like fun. Everyone looked
Yeah.
great. It was
Minus the blackface.
the place was beautiful.
And if that happens today, somebody has blackface, you're like, okay, it's time to leave.
Right?
Yeah, yeah.
But there were two people not enjoying themselves, which is another intriguing moment for me. It was clearly Dawn didn't want to be there.
Pete was kind of rolling his eyes too.
Pete was rolling his eyes a little bit, but I just think it was like these old weirdos kind of thing.
Yeah.
But Connie, the guy that Dawn met and had the drinks
Yes.
with,
Yes.
who also seemed to be another rich person, and he's played by a known actor who's so known whose name I don't know, but a guy we've seen in many times before,
Yeah.
which makes me think that's not the only time we're going to see him, and I'm kind of curious because it was kind of like a meet cute between two rich people
Yeah.
who were kind of outsiders to the whole thing.
Very similar people.
They seem like
Don,
it.
yeah.
Much older than
Self-made.
Don, right? But
Yeah.
this idea of these two self-made guys talking about how far they've come,
Yeah.
and what and not wanting and not enjoying the trappings of that everyone else seems to be of that lifestyle.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious to see who this guy is and what it's going to mean for Don.
Exactly. And
Because I think it is. I think Don sees something in him.
I don't know. I wonder if we're going to see him right away. I doubt we do.
No, that feels like a planted for down the road kind of thing. It kind of felt like
This show's really good at that too.
sure.
Back to the blackface thing. I kind of read that as like it's kind of distinguishing the age difference in Roger and Jane.
That's
Because-
true too. You're
because
right.
we-
You
we
made that
saw-
point last time.
We
Right.
saw Roger do that, which is very dated, very old.
Very old fashioned, and he sings "My Old Kentucky Home," which is a very old. That was
Yeah.
an old song in the '60s.
Yeah. And then you see Jane all, drunk and kind of acting a fool.
20-year-old kid drunk.
I should have eaten something.
Right.
Hand
Why
on
don't
Don's
you?
belt.
Why don't you like me? I'm a good person. Yeah, she's doing that whole like thing that every 20-year-old kid does when they're inexperienced with drinking.
And they're like opposite ends of the spectrum there.
Of all kinds of things,
and
right?
So, and everybody kind of
Age,
sees that too.
socioeconomic. Yeah, exactly.
And somebody also pointed out on Patreon the reason Don was kind of standoffish with Roger
Right.
is because the whole reason they sold the company in the first place
To pay off her
his
right.
divorce,
Yeah, to pay for his divorce.
So
yeah.
he's not happy about that.
No,
Not
because
happy at
Don
all.
didn't want to sell it at all, and it was basically like, so this is why I lost a lot of control in my own company, so that you could marry this. You could marry
Exactly.
this. You could marry this young woman.
He's like, Roger, I have no interest in this.
Right, yeah.
He put her in her place right away.
Right.
And so it's complicated. I like Roger and Don together. I think they do have ultimately a good friendship. But
Yeah.
right now,
It's on the rocks right now,
it's big time, man. I mean,
and I kind of respect Don for why. You know what I mean? Don, when it comes to this dynamic here of the company getting sold and Roger's marriage and all of that stuff, Don's completely in the right. I feel like
it's funny,
people just don't.
He's always in the right when it comes to the company.
For sure, right?
Yeah.
No one wants to see me happy. Dude, no one thinks you're happy. They think you're an idiot. Yeah, it was great writing, man. It was so well done.
And this is an interesting dynamic too. Roger and Don are kind of drifting farther apart, but him and Pete are getting closer.
I think so. Yeah, I think so too.
I never would have guessed that.
I did. And remember when
in season 1 you did.
In season 1 when they almost fired Pete for trying to get Don fired.
Don saved his ass.
And well, it was Bert that really saved. Well, Bert was like, fire him, don't fire him. I find that there's somebody that you've kind of given mercy to can end up being one of your best friends. And that seems to be how it worked out. He feels indebted to Don because Don had his head on the chopping block and didn't swing the axe.
Yeah.
and he could have.
And Bert Cooper is super insightful too.
Bert's really inside. It's really kind of funny. He does very little to run the company, but he seems to really understand the dynamics of running the company.
It's how you get to the top.
Yeah,
you don't do a lot.
I sit in my office. I trim my plant. I look at my paintings. I keep my shoes off, and I tell everyone else when they're screwing up my company.
Read Ayn Rand.
Oh yeah, he's great.
Rand.
Which is a terrible book, but Bert's a great character.
A lot of people think that Don is Randian.
You think so?
That's what that's what we've been told on Patreon. I haven't read Atlas Shrugged.
Well, I mean, the idea that the thing that people hate about the book, and I agree, it's kind of a book for the right wingers, right? It really is, because it's this idea that I'm rich and successful, and if none of you poors like it, I will take all my toys and go away and see how you do without them. And the idea of you need rich people to survive, and I kind of get that, but it really does celebrate the rich prick pretty hard. Yeah,
in a way,
it very much champions the rich prick.
In a way, that's kind of Don, but not quite.
Right? Because Don didn't come from that. Don's self-made. Yeah. Blah blah blah. I mean, I get it, but at the same time, I'm not a fan of the book because I don't think every man for himself is the best we can do. And Randian philosophy is pretty much that: either you succeed or you die. And I don't really feel like that's the way the world should work, because the world needs everybody, right? Maybe the world needs ditch diggers too.
Maybe at this level,
right?
That applies, but in
terms of the world, no, absolutely not. In terms of America, absolutely not.
It's if the poors go away, who's going to make all your sandwiches?
Right. We've digressed, but so we'll get going on with the show here.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, if you're watching us on YouTube for the first time, welcome to our channel.
Hello.
If you don't mind hitting that like button for us, leave us a comment down below, and please hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with all of our new Mad Men content we've coming your way.
Yeah, absolutely. If you'd like to see the full reaction to this and everything else we're watching, please check out the link in the description below to our Patreon page, where you can catch full-length reactions to every episode of Mad Men and everything else we've watched or watching, including the full entire run of both Fleabag and Ted Lasso, which we've finished up both of those, and I'm going to miss both of them terribly.
We miss them dearly. We really do.
Flashing around the chimney.
Let the kid drive?
Yeah. What is she, like 8? This is insane. They're actually driving through the neighborhood.
Yeah.
I want to move to Manhattan. Really? It's so far away. It is far, and I commute almost 2 hours total every day.
Oh yeah, move closer to work if you can afford it.
I want to be on all the networks. Like when the president addresses the nation?
That's not Tuesday a thing.
Night, 8:30 to 9, all 3 networks, the same show.
That's not how things work, man.
And of course, newspapers are key, but you can't limit yourself to less than 10 markets.
This is impressive.
They're just raking it for his money, and they know it. Like, bring the paycheck.
Musical spectacular.
On all 3 networks, and it has to be in color.
John's like, wait, what?
I don't think it's worth anyone's time unless you're willing to commit to at least $1 million to start.
Sure, but that's a third of my ad budget.
They just raked that poor fool for $1 million.
Big time.
You want to run it by his daddy? He's my age, so he was born with a lot of money. He has a dream, and it's our job to make it come true.
It's not going to. Don's the moral one running around right now, isn't he?
Yeah. It's weird.
He's right. That was undignified, what they just did.
I don't like watching you commit suicide.
Oh.
Neither do your kids.
So even back then, they knew that cigarettes were terrible.
Yeah, well, remember that's the first episode was the Surgeon General saying, doctors saying it's dangerous. Yeah.
I don't want to talk about this.
We talk about it now, and then we don't talk about it. That's the idea.
Fine.
He's right.
Jesus. Smoke his cigarette. Funerals are a dishonest business.
They are.
People don't want to think about it. That's how they get you.
They cost so much.
Yeah.
You've always been sensitive. That's my fault for shielding you from all the dangers out there. That's probably why you married this joker.
Okay, now you're going too far.
When you can see so clearly that it upsets me. It's selfish and morbid.
It's not selfish.
No, it has to be done.
And I know it must be horrible to be looking at whatever you're looking at. But can't you keep it to yourself?
Okay, that's selfish.
Yeah, she called him selfish, and she's being very selfish.
Poor Gene.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, I get Gene's mentality. Sure. Don hasn't been great.
Right. But maybe we should talk to Don about it instead.
I think so.
Look at this. Victory Medal, France. I should have another for beating the clap. Shot lots of them. They're trying to kill us.
War's bad.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But it makes a man out of you.
Okay, Don does not like this, yeah.
Let him have it. That's why I got it.
Can't I have it?
There was a person in that helmet.
An enemy.
Bobby, it's a dead man's hat. Take it off.
Keep it on.
Okay, Gene is overstepping now.
Big time. Big time. I thought this was gonna be a sweet moment looking at a grandfather and a grandson, but nope.
Nope, Dad gets to make that call.
Big time.
You're in his house.
That's cool.
There was this girl.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Here we go. Yeah. Never mind.
Yeah. This poor girl doesn't realize she married a gay dude. I feel really bad for her.
She's quite stunning.
Do you think they ever sleep together? Like at all?
I'm working.
I think it's rare. See, I think it's always that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she just got shut down.
The past few months, something's wrong.
Well, that's not true.
It is true.
So ever since he hooked up with that guy, maybe the bellboy.
Yeah.
Dancing right up to the camera. She sort of pushes her shoulders together and leans over with the can. And she smiles. Hello, patio.
Do you think she just figured it out?
Sound good?
I think you're right.
You're gonna do great.
I think
I
she
think she just
might have
figured it
just
out.
figured it out. Wow, did it take her a long time to get there? That's really upsetting.
I've seen his plan. It's gibberish. But if you refuse him, he'll only find someone else.
So fail.
That's
in your hands.
true.
Fail
Yeah.
in your hands.
Perhaps when that evaporates and his face is pressed against the reality of the sidewalk, he'll be of value to someone.
I like that attitude a lot.
Yeah. That was a powerful.
That was
wide,
great. Yeah. Let my son fail. Let him blow his money failing.
quiet moment between
Yep.
everybody. Yeah, it was great.
And I think Don did the right thing by bringing him in.
Me too.
She afraid you're gonna be fat like she was?
Oh my God.
Your Grandma Ruth used to drive her to town to run errands and make her walk herself home. That put a stop to it.
Oh my God.
I don't want to be the only one. So I'll tell you what. I'm gonna keep a lookout.
This is the most grandparent thing ever.
For
My grandparents do the
sure.
same thing. You want some ice cream? Don't tell your mom. You know what I mean?
Yeah, to tell your mom. Here's $1.
It tastes like chocolate, but it smells like oranges. You smell that?
That's
Is he having a health issue?
That is the thing. Yeah, the oranges. I think that's a sign of
A stroke or something?
yeah, or a heart attack.
I might not be president, but I could build something.
Don
And
is
people
not
will
liking
like it,
doing
and
this to him.
I'm going to be the father of this sport, and people are going to be dying to do business with me. Even my father.
Poor Don. Someone help this kid.
I mean, I think the best way to have success is to fail, though.
Right.
So maybe this might do him some good. We'll see.
But I think you should take this decision a little more seriously.
What are you saying, Don?
Good for
Let
you,
him,
Don.
let him talk.
All of your money, I promise you. But I think you should reevaluate this particular obsession. You can do better.
Don's going to be in trouble for this. He's going to pull it, and Don's going to be in trouble for this.
That's a sales technique, isn't it?
Nope.
You tried, Don.
You tried. That's all you can do.
Enjoy,
all you can do.
Enjoy your dinner.
Clean, responsible, considerate. I have some nice furniture and a small television. It reads like the stage directions from an Ibsen play. So I'm Margaret. It's my name, and it's more adult. But this is about two young girls in Manhattan. This is about an adventure.
Yeah, you're in advertising. Come on.
Sell yourself.
Likes to laugh, lives to love. Seeks size 6 for city living and general gallivanting. No dull moments or dull men tolerated. Or something like that. Don't put it up there. Everyone here knows you. Branch out.
Yeah.
Branch out. Honestly, Joan needs to leave her fiance. Start rooming with Peggy.
What a powerhouse that would be, right?
I'd watch
What a
that
team.
spinoff.
Yeah.
I'd watch that spinoff.
Right?
I want to buy fruit. What do you want?
Peaches, please. Peaches give me a rash.
Your sister likes them.
God. He's allergic to peaches, man.
Yeah. Your sister likes them.
I think you should only close your door for one reason.
What's that?
Oh,
Ah.
are you Swedish? Because I am.
Swedish.
Why does that have to do with
Norwegian.
anything?
Well, we won't tell my parents.
Oh my
I'll
God.
make a point. Okay, I'll call you. Roomie.
Oh, not a match.
I got you
This
a
is not a
sandwich.
good match. Did he forget her?
Uh-oh.
It's Mommy. Where's Grandpa G? Must have slipped his mind. Where is he?
You think he died? Remember, he was smelling the oranges and they were eating ice cream.
Oh no. Unless he's lost somewhere.
Right. Yeah, because he's had those spells.
Maybe a director was needed because you need to like help the actor
The
get
performance, right? Yeah. She doesn't have that childlike thing that Anne Margaret did. She's more like Vixen.
And the singing's not great.
Yeah, right.
Can't even tell you how thorough Sal was.
Well, I appreciate that, but this is, I don't know, it's not what I thought it was going to be.
Yep.
Yeah.
Reshoots.
Sounds right, smells right. Something's not right. What is it?
It's not Anne Margaret.
Yeah, exactly.
There we go.
Are you related to Eugene Hofstadt?
Yes, I am. What is it?
We regret to inform you that he passed away. He collapsed in line at the A&P. I'm so sorry, ma'am.
He was buying peaches.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, it's beautiful.
Sit down, Ma.
What's this about?
This is where she's going to tell her she's moving to Manhattan.
Well, that makes sense.
It really does.
Yeah, I guess I'm the kind of mother who'd rather have a new TV than a daughter.
Oh my God.
Because someday both of you is gonna feel this broken heart I'm carrying.
Ugh.
Mother's guilt.
Yeah.
You'll get raped, you know that.
Whoa!
Jesus Christ.
Why would I ever believe anything you say?
What?
Stop it, Ma. You're being cruel.
Yeah, she is.
Once he asked, what's going to happen when I get to heaven and I have 2 wives?
Knowing Gloria, I don't think that's going to be a problem.
Why are you laughing?
Sally, sweetheart.
We weren't laughing, honey.
I heard you. I heard you laughing. He's dead, and he's never coming back. And nobody cares that he's really, really, really gone.
Sally, go watch TV.
She's a little kid. She doesn't understand how to process this kind of grief.
You gonna go talk to Sally?
He should.
Big time. Her
Like,
mother's
okay, now that everyone's taking a breath, let's kind of talk through this.
Oh, she's got the book. That's so sad.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he's got to do this after everyone else is asleep. That makes sense. That would not sit well.
No. All right. We got to talk about Gene. I think when they portrayed Gene in these last 3 episodes, because really it's just been 3 episodes
right
at the house. I think that it's like the perfect portrayal of like a grandparent. You know
For
what I mean?
sure, yeah.
Obviously a flawed person, but
Yeah.
to children, they're perfect.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Huge generational difference, right? Between Gene and Dawn. You know, kids these days, blah blah blah. You know, the old man syndrome that's been going on forever. And yeah, you really got the first sense of death for Sally, and it was someone she was close to. That's going to be hard for her to process. I'm kind of curious to see how she comes out of it, honestly.
I mean, they had a real bond, you know.
Yeah, they did.
She read to him every night, you know, and he died getting her peaches, you know.
He let her drive the car, yeah.
And he let her drive the car, exactly. And even Bobby, he was trying to reach out to Bobby and you know, show him some of his past experiences. And you know, like I said, when I was a kid, you know, my parents and they fought with their parents, and you know, as a kid, you don't understand that, you know, you don't understand why there's contention there. And as kids, you're like, oh, I love my grandparents. My grandparents are the best, you know. And she doesn't understand that. They're up there talking about him, and you know, remembering him, and then what's so funny? What's funny about that? You know, and it's much.
You guys
deeper than
don't care because you're laughing. Like that's not how that works.
Obviously, Betty's destroyed by this, you know, and there's something profound about the fact that you know, Betty eating the peach at the end. It's not her peach.
Yeah.
And that's why it splashes all over her. Then you got Sally running in and being like, "What is wrong?"
Yeah, it was Sally's peach. Yeah, exactly.
That's really good filmmaking.
Oh, of course.
It's fantastic filmmaking. And you know, he wasn't a perfect guy, but at the same time, I liked his character quite a bit.
I did too. I think what he served, was to really highlight that maybe Betty and Dawn are being really neglectful parents.
Yeah.
While, you know,
passing on the torch.
Yeah, he was Gene was very much the surrogate parent for Sally at the end.
Yeah.
Shopping for her, taking her to school, picking her up from school to take her to ballet. You know, and I mean, I get it. Betty's pregnant. You know, she can't do all of the things, but I don't feel like in 3 seasons of the show she ever really did. You know what I mean? I feel like Carla did more parenting than Betty did.
I think
know?
Betty's an absent mother.
Yeah, and we give Don a lot of grief for being an absentee father, and he kind of is. But a lot of his, not all of it, obviously, but a lot of his is he's working. He's the one that goes into the office, and Betty just kind of drifts through life without really paying overly too much attention to her kids. I feel like
I don't think she knows how to be a parent because partially because of Jean and her mom.
Right.
Like they sheltered her, and
Well,
even Jean said that.
Right.
He's like, we should have exposed you to the ugliness.
Well, he's right, and it's not just exposure to the ugliness, but I think the idea that what's under indictment here is as a society at the time, we kind of infantilized women. You know what I mean? Because what does she say when he wants to go through his death preparations? I'm your little girl. You're my daddy. I shouldn't have to. I'm like, you're not a little girl, man.
Well, it's interesting. She said,
you're a 30-year-old mother of 2 whose dad's about to die.
When she said that,
Yeah.
she stood up, and obviously she's pregnant.
Right.
And that was a really good moment too.
Yeah, I'm your little girl. Well, again, and I've seen comments from people who've watched the show along with us to say that Betty very much acts like a child, and she does, but I don't hate her for it. Like a lot of
No, I
people
don't,
do.
no.
I kind of feel like that's the crap that was put on women. You know what I
You
mean?
have a lot of empathy for Betty.
Right, because they if she's raised her whole life to be treated like she's helpless, and it sounds like she was from Jean to Dawn, treated like she was completely helpless and couldn't do anything for herself, then what else is she supposed to do? She's supposed to not know how to be a mother.
Yeah.
She's supposed to not know how to go do basic things to make that the household work in the role that women had to play at the time.
Yeah.
And most importantly, emotionally, she's not an adult.
Yeah, and it's I don't know the scene where he said we were talking at the table and he was like, "You have no idea what's out there."
Right.
And that's very true.
Yeah.
And I think that Jean talking with Bobby and Sally, he kind of there's little lessons there, right?
Sure.
I mean, there's little lessons. I mean, the morality with the money, him
Right.
reading to her, him teaching her how to drive.
Yeah.
Because certainly Betty's not going to. Don can't be there.
Right.
And it's what's really interesting to me is the moment with Bobby and Jean.
Right.
Whenever he was like, teaching him to open the box, and he was like, no, never hold it close to you.
Right.
My grandfather taught me the same thing with a knife. You don't hold it towards you. You put it away. And then it gets really interesting when they're talking about the German's helmet.
Oh yeah, it did.
That is a real moment about life. Like they were enemies, and,
Right.
and Don's like, no, that was somebody's hat.
Don's doing a little bit more of it's like Gene learned that he over-sheltered Betty, and now he doesn't want to do that for Bobby and Sally, so he's trying to teach them more of how he understands the world, and Don's in that sheltering mode.
It's interesting too because they're kids. They probably need a little longer to learn about life and death.
it's a tough issue.
This is kind of how you learn about a grandparent passing, a dog
Yeah,
passing.
exactly.
That's how you kind of learn about life and death. And so Don being a little upset with Gene teaching him that,
Right.
I get it, but it's like also like Don. Well, I mean, he doesn't really know. I mean,
Right.
like that's why I like that Don was like, no, that was somebody's hat. That was somebody else's.
That's a dead man's hat. Take it off. Yeah.
And that's
and Gene was wrong there in telling him to leave it on
that was wrong. That was wrong for
because
sure.
it is Don's house and Don's kid.
I think showing him the helmet is one thing, but yeah,
Right.
the way he was like, yeah, look at this, there's a hole in it. You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
that's-
even that's okay as long as Don's okay.
Yeah.
But as soon as Dad says no,
that's when it needs
that's when it needs to end.
his kid,
That's just my opinion. It's like,
I
okay,
agree with you. I agree
okay,
totally.
your dad says we shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
We're not going to do this. I'm not arguing with him about it.
I think any person, like Don's a war guy, he doesn't like to
Right.
think about it.
Sure.
But at the same time, I think any person, take the helmet off, you go sit with them, and you kind of like, okay, let's see what else you got in here. You know
Right,
what I mean?
exactly.
And
Which
that's-
is what he did eventually.
Eventually, but that was interesting because Don's on the outside, and you got
Right.
Gene there explaining this to the kid.
Yeah.
And it's like that shows what these parents are like,
Right.
And it is passing the torch down. They had absentee parents. They're just going to pass it down to their kids.
Yeah, they're being absentee parents, and I feel like that's Gene's trying to fill that void, and it really does. Like the juxtaposition of that really highlights, Sally and Bobby are kind of as screwed as Don and Betty were.
I messed up with my kids. I can have a second chance with my grandkids.
Yeah,
A
exactly.
little too late, almost.
Right.
And it's but I think a grandparent's lessons from them they resonate.
Sure.
So hopefully it resonates with Bobby and Sally.
Right. Of course, they're both still really young.
They're
It's
very
like,
young.
well,
Very young.
Well, now we're not back to having too much of a parental figure around. Two
Yeah.
absentee parents again.
And I think we're gonna see some fallout from that.
That's what I'm saying. I'm kind of curious to see because we didn't see Bobby at all.
No.
post Gene dying, right?
We did not.
From the moment the news came to the end of the episode, we never saw Bobby, so
And
I don't know how he's taking it.
Every time there's something with the kids, it's like Bobby gets the short end of the stick.
Yeah, it really is more Sally's show, isn't it? When it comes to the kids, for sure.
Which is interesting that they choose to do that. That's a choice. That's a
Right.
choice of the show to not do that. And
I mean, I get some of it. It's the idea, because I think the idea of how
men are supposed
Dawn,
to be tough.
right? How Dawn treats Betty and now how Dawn treats Sally is a really important aspect of the show. Those dynamics, right? You treat your wife like a little kid, so you treat your little kid like a little kid.
Yeah.
But I
Bobby,
kind
go to your
of
room.
right, yeah. But I do kind of want to see the dynamic of how toxic this toxic masculine lifestyle that Dawn's living gets passed down to Bobby too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would say it's he's the least toxic.
Oh no,
of
for
them,
sure, absolutely.
He doesn't do anything over the top necessarily. It
Right.
is like the old school gender.
Dad's
roles.
in charge, right?
You know, it is that, but like at the same time, I think he's caring with the kids. He's quite caring with even like Sal, and he's not overly toxic in the workplace.
He's not overly toxic at home. He doesn't tell Betty have dinner ready or go do this with the kids, or
They have some ugly fights.
They
Sure.
have some ugly fights, but it's not about that. It's usually about Dawn's crap. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's not about why isn't the house clean? Why Dawn's come into the house and it's been a mess, right? Because she's going through his clothes to see if he's cheating, or going through his office, or whatever's happened, and he's never been like, "Woman, I'm the man of the house," and blah blah
never
blah.
hits her.
Right. So we never have any of that. So it is different. I think you're right. I think there are other relationships on the show that are more toxic. I think Pete and
his wife
Trudy, Pete and Trudy are a lot more toxic.
Look at Joan and her husband.
Right. Oh, for sure.
And there's a lot going on too. That's the theme of this episode is generations, and you even get that
absolutely.
with the client earlier in the show.
Like let my kid fail.
Don's like, I tried to talk to him.
Yeah.
It's interesting that
he tries to baby that kid just like he tries to baby his own kids, right? Dad says, let him fail on his own like a man, and Don takes him out to dinner and is like, don't fail on your own as a man.
I think he leveled with him.
He did.
He's like, you have a lot of opportunity.
Yeah, you do.
Choose a better decision.
There's
choose a better option.
If he has a $3 million marketing budget, just think in the 1960s of anything you can do in business with $3 million startup money.
Handball game.
You can do anything.
And you want to do this.
Right.
It is, in a way, that is childish.
Yeah.
They say there's a market for it. They say it's up and coming, but it's like,
spoiler alert, in 2023 we know there's no market for this. It's not
I've never heard of it till this episode.
I've heard of it, but only because we played it in gym class a little bit, and it's played internationally in third world countries, but it's not like a hit in America at all.
You know what it is now? It's a wiffle ball.
It is a wiffle ball, isn't it?
And it's got like a stick now you hold on to.
Right.
It's like a plastic thing, and it's like way different.
Completely different, but that's the evolution of it.
And even as a kid, we had really no idea. Like, is this how you're supposed to do this? You know what I mean?
I don't remember the rules of it, and we played it in gym class when I was like in middle school.
Man.
Yeah,
and so like maybe I don't know, but like
obviously it doesn't work.
It does not work. So it's interesting that they had that juxtaposition.
I loved it. I thought it was a great choice.
And then the cherry on top, you have the Sal situation going on.
Yeah,
because not only is Sal failing in his personal life with Kitty, which is
completely. I think Kitty knows now,
big time.
I think the whole. Because while he was doing the Bye Bye Birdie thing, that's what I was thinking was like, how can nobody tell that this guy's gay? I know that sounds like really stereotypical, but that's the point of what he's doing. Because as soon as he does it, Kitty's like, oh.
She looks horrified.
Yeah, she knows. She knows. She's like, oh my God.
And she looked great. She was sitting there like, why I'm wearing this, I'm doing this.
Yeah,
like,
she's lovely. She is lovely, yeah. But Sal is not a straight man. He shouldn't be expected to, but he married her. Don't marry his. Yeah, I think so.
Oh wow, okay. I thought they were just together.
I could be wrong, but I thought they were married. I feel like he married her because that's what you did back then. If you were gay, you just suppressed it. You know what I mean? And went ahead and got married and had kids and blah blah blah.
I think that would have been the case, and then he has the experience of the bellhop, and I think that really opened his eyes.
I think you're right.
I can't do this.
And it seems like that's kind of the time frame of when like you don't touch me anymore. What's been going on for the last 6 months? Well, 6 months ago I was with Dawn doing a pitch.
Yeah,
and
some stuff happened.
And some stuff happened. And now I realized who I really am, and I'm really not into you at all.
Yeah,
I mean that's really the honest answer. And I know that happened. Those conversations happen in a million marriages. You know what I mean? That happened a lot.
No, it does.
Elton John was married, right? Rock Hudson was married.
Rock Hudson. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Those are conversations that happen with real people that were probably very tough conversations.
Of course it is. Of course it is. And
you feel bad for everybody involved. I feel just as bad for the wives as I do for the men that are living that lie, having to live that lie.
I do too. And the real question about everything is the professional matter of this is. Don says, "You'll know if I hire you again."
Right? Yeah,
Is Sal going to start directing commercials for Sterling Cooper?
that'd be kind of cool.
It'd be awesome, because like he said, I mean, the paintings, nobody really wants paintings anymore. They want photography.
Right? Yeah, he is kind of the dinosaur there, isn't he?
A little bit.
I mean, there's still print media and everything, but you're right. It is clearly much more about television.
And we see that how it's evolving on the show. At one of the last shots with Sally, she's watching the monk
Yeah,
burn himself on live TV.
and then they moved to a cigarette commercial.
They showed that. They did. That was dark. That's dark.
Right? They did move to a cigarette commercial.
But they showed that on live TV, and the impact of that in the '60s and early '70s, that informs not only advertising, network TV,
how we consume news, how we consume films. You're right.
The whole '70s new wave is directly inspired from what was on TV from Vietnam in the '60s and early '70s.
Yeah.
It's all exploitation. Everything's exploited, and
it does get that way, doesn't it?
The
And
show,
we're still feeling the effects of that.
The show shows that so well.
Perfect show. All right, we'll catch you in the next one, guys.
See ya.